Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show that covers all things marketing. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast gives you the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. Whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand, you've come to the right place. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast starts now.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie, and today's quarantine episode is coming straight from the stairwells of my apartment. Why? Well, my apartment was too loud, so I had to move it on over to the stairs. So I hope you enjoy this special edition of the GSMC Marketing Podcast that I am recording as I sit on a couple of stairs and my laptop balances on the others. I hope you enjoy it. Today's episode is also going to premiere on my birthday, which is very, very special to me, obviously, because it is the day that gave me life, but also because I am so happy to be working for the GSMC Marketing Podcast and the GSMC Podcast Network. And so it's really great to get to share an episode on my birthday and really just thank the network for everything they've given me over the past year and really just say how much I love working for this organization. So thank you, GSMC. I hope to have another couple of great years with you, if not so many more. So on today's episode of the podcast, I thought we would talk about how to sort of get out of that creative block that you might be stuck in during this quarantine. So obviously right now, a lot of us look at this time as being an opportunity to explore our creative side, get ahead in our content creation, or even try out something completely new. But that can become a little bit difficult if you hit creative block or writer's block or you're just stuck in a rut. So what we're going to talk about today is, first, we have 10 different ways for you to get into a creative headspace, really set the mood and try to create something out of nothing. And then I have 10 different sites that will help you put that creative memory, that creative zone into good use, because there are a lot of times that I'm in a creative headspace and I just don't have a pen and paper to write it down. It is the simplest thing, but it can also be a very difficult thing. So what we're going to study today is sort of how you can get into that creative headspace and then utilize it within that space. Because for a lot of us, we need that perfect mood, that perfect feeling, that perfect book, that perfect chair, the perfect cup of tea to create something. But what is unfortunate about that is we don't always get the perfect cup of tea and the perfect chair. We sometimes have to create things while we're in an airport. We have to create things while we're at our office. We have to create things while we're all stuck in quarantine. So what we are really trying to get at today is how to put yourself in that creative headspace and how to utilize your creative headspace once you're in it so that no amount of creative energy goes to waste. So all of that and more on today's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. To start out, we have a couple of news stories just to inform you on what is going on in the marketing world. There are some big changes that are happening, some big events that are happening. Some are related to the coronavirus. Others are just happening because the world keeps moving, companies keep changing, and marketing keeps developing. So I think it's very important for us to stay in tune with all of those changes so that we can better implement our own marketing strategies. If this is what the big companies are doing, then we need to pay attention to that. So all of these stories are really intended just to keep you in the loop. But what I would love to know is if you actually find these new segments helpful, or if you think you would rather just get into the main plot of the episode. So one way to let me know is to reach out through social media or write it in the review down below. Either way, I would love to hear from you. Our first news story is that Peloton's head of marketing will be stepping down this year. After 4 years at Peloton, the company's head of global marketing is leaving at the end of this month. Carolyn Tish Blodgett, who joined the exercise tech company in early 2016, will be leaving at the end of the month to spend more time with her family before having her third child in the summer. Blodgett said she'll continue in an advisory role even after she has officially exited. She said in a statement, "As the first brand hire in 2016, it has been such an honor to help lead Peloton's growth over 2 million members and be a part of the team that helped bring this brand public. From winning an Effie for our first Olympics campaign to launching the Peloton's trend, I have loved working with so many incredible people. Most importantly, our inspiring community of members around the world." So this is a very happy story. Obviously, it is always sad to see someone stepping down from a role, but obviously she is going to have her third child, so that's not really sad. And it does appear that she'll always be very connected with the company as being one of their first leading members. That obviously will stand a lot of ground. What I think is very interesting, and if you actually go back and listen to my first episode of the podcast ever, this was actually the podcast I auditioned for to get this job, I talked about Peloton's marketing and what they were doing over the holiday season. I don't know if any of you remember, but they did put out a holiday special that was a little controversial. You can go listen to that episode to get all of the details. However, I would love to hear Carolyn Tish Blodgett's opinion on this, if it has anything to do with her stepping down. I don't know if it does, but let me know your opinions of the situation after you've listened to the episode or after you've listened to it a little bit more or researched it on your own. Let me know in the reviews down below, or again, reach out through social media, because I have to say, I think it probably has to do with it a little bit. They got quite a bit of heat off of that commercial, so I wouldn't be shocked to find out that it had something to do with her departure. Our second news story is that the Community cast will be reuniting for a virtual table read. The cast of Community and the creator, Dan Harmon, will be reuniting for a virtual table read and Q&A session in order to benefit the COVID-19 relief efforts. Stars Joel McHale, Jillian Jacobs, Danny Pudi, Yvette Nicole Brown, Allison Brie, Jim Rash, Ken Jeong, and Donald Glover are all set to join the table read along with the show creator Dan Harmon. The table read will feature Donald Glover, who departed the show during its 5th season, making it the first time he's been a part of any community-related event since leaving the show. The table read will be shown in its entirety along with a Q&A session of fan questions on May 18th at 2 p.m. PT via Sony Pictures TV Community YouTube channel. The cast is set to read Cooperative Polygraphy, the 4th episode of Season 5, which aired January 16th of 2014 on NBC. For the fans' Q&A, fans can submit their questions on social media using the hashtag AskCommunity and tag @CommunityTV. So this story is really interesting because obviously Donald Glover coming back to the show is a very big deal. The entire cast reuniting is also a very big deal because the show has been one that people constantly want more and more of. They never want it to end. They want a movie to come out. It has been highly talked about and highly anticipated that one day there will be a movie. So it is very interesting to see them all reuniting. I feel like the number one question they are going to get asked is, when will the movie come out? An ongoing joke on the show was 6 seasons and a movie. They did 6 seasons. Where's the movie? So I guarantee we will be getting a lot of those questions during the fan Q&A. However, I am very excited, and I think this is a great marketing opportunity, but also a really great opportunity to raise some money for a very important cause, especially right now. So I really, really appreciate the shows like Community and The Nanny and Chuck that have been doing these table reads, because I do know they are bringing a source of entertainment to people during a dark time, and it's just putting a smile on people's faces. So it's really great and a great way to raise money as well. What do you think of the Community reboot? Are you shocked that Donald Glover is coming back to reprise his role as Troy? Or do you think, of course, he would come back if it was to help out the fans or help out a charity? Let me know, again, in the review down below or reach out through social media. Our third and final story of today is that Nicolas Cage will star as Joe Exotic for the Tiger King biopic series Oh my Lanta. You guys, I am so freaking excited. It had been talked about so much. People were speculating as to who was going to play Joe Exotic. Now, obviously, I think Joe Exotic would want to play Joe Exotic, but Nicolas Cage is definitely up there. He is definitely going to absolutely kill this role for sure, I think. But I can't get over it. I think this is such a great opportunity for marketing and for just really jumping on this bandwagon while things are still hot, because let's face it, once we're out of quarantine, nobody is going to care about Tiger King ever again. So let's strike while the iron is hot and get a big star like Nicolas Cage on to play Joe Exotic. It is too perfect for words. So in a statement confirmed by CBS, Nicolas Cage has closed a deal with Imagine Television Studios and CBS Television Studios to play the now famous Tiger King Joe Exotic in an 8-episode limited series that will go to market in the next few days. The story centers around Joe Chevrillon, an eccentric zookeeper in Oklahoma who fights to keep his park even at the risk of losing his sanity. The series will live in the lion's den with Joe, explore how he became Joe Exotic, and how he lost himself to a character of his own creation. The show will be adapted from the June 2019 Texas Monthly article by Lee Frigestad titled Joe Exotic, A Dark Journey into the World of a Man Gone Wild. Guys, I'm just excited. I think for the marketing opportunities, for the content creation opportunities, this is going to be a wild story. So hang on tight, because I will definitely be talking about it more as we get more and more content and more updates about it. So stay tuned for that. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast. But when we come back, I have my top 10 ways of how you can get yourself into a creative headspace even when you're not feeling it. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast covers everything tech. The hottest mobile phones, tablets, games. We review it, rate it, test it. Whether you're Microsoft or Apple, Android or iPhone, we'll give it to you again. Black and white. The Golden State Media Concepts Technology Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, brought to you from my stairwell in my apartment building. Guys, quarantine's rough. Quarantine is rough for everyone, and obviously me having to record my birthday podcast episode in a stairwell is like the bottom of the barrel for like problems that are going on right now in the world. But I would love to hear what your silly problems are. What are you struggling with? What is your biggest problem right now in quarantine? If you just need a vent, we would love to hear from you. If you're having trouble with your marketing, if you're having trouble coming up with content ideas right now and you feel like, oh my gosh, I should not be wasting this time. I have so much time. Why am I wasting it? Then girl, honey, sweetie, dude, guy, don't worry. You are in the right place because that is exactly what we are talking about on today's episode of the podcast. But I would love to suggest, if you're having a hard time right now, if you are struggling to deal with all of this, or even if you're just looking for a bit of a laugh, it's going to sound really silly, but check out our other podcasts. We have podcasts dealing with mental health. We have lifestyle podcasts. We have so many freaking podcasts that you are guaranteed to find something that will actually help you. And yeah, my marketing podcast will help you with your marketing, but go check out our other podcasts because we have amazing hosts. We are creating amazing content, and time again, we really are just there for you guys. We are always trying to deliver the best and the greatest and the most consistent content out there. So I highly recommend checking out some of our other podcasts right now while you have the time. But for now, let's jump right into our episode and talk about the 10 different ways you can get into a creative headspace even when you're not in one. So here's the thing. I think these 10 different tips, or whatever tips you end up finding for yourself that work, are extremely important to remember. Because here's the thing. If you're in the content creation business, if you are in the marketing business, then you need to learn how to create content even when you're not feeling it. Because here's the thing. Content is happening all the time, everywhere, and you constantly need to be generating it, and you constantly need to be generating the content to the best of your ability. So if you're at an airport, if you're on a plane, if you're on a train, if you're stuck in rush hour, don't do it if you're driving, obviously, but it doesn't matter where you are. If you're stuck in quarantine, you need to find a way to be able to get into that creative headspace. You need to have your trigger. Someone who I really love to follow, and I know I talk about her on every stinking episode, is Rachel Hollis. And Rachel Hollis's tip is to listen to music on the same song on repeat. And that helps her write her books when she's on an airplane. It helps her do a blog post when she's in a room filled with screaming children running around her. So I'm going to give you 10 different tips that they're not only ones that I use, because some of these I actually don't use. I've just heard from other people that they work really, really well, but they will hopefully help you get into that mind space whenever you need to. So the first one is to plan. So when you first get started on this journey, you might not be able to flip that switch as quickly as you might like. But whenever that switch does get flipped, if it's even by accident, or say you've created the absolute perfect writing area, the perfect content creation zone in your home, and that switch is flipped, then start planning. Plan it out in advance. Plan it out so that next time when you're not feeling it, but you need to create something, you can go back to the plan, look at it, see what you wrote, and really get back to being into that headspace, even if you're nowhere near your comfy chair and glass of tea. Plan it out, be proactive, and really just get ahead of your schedule. Number 2, if you're not feeling creative, don't be creative. Use data. Data can really actually help you be creative, as silly as it sounds, because I'm saying don't be creative. Take a look at your numbers. What is your audience engaging with most? What posts are doing the best? What blog posts are people reading for the longest amount of time? What videos are being watched? What videos are being shared? Collect all of that data. That way, when you're creating your plan, when you are in the zone, when you're creating content, you can look at your data and say, oh, people really like it when I post photos of me using my product. I'm going to take more of those photos. Or in fact, I'm going to create a video of me using that product. Or I'm going to create an entire blog post of me using that. So use your data, lean on your data so that you are able to create the marketing plan, create the content, even when you're not feeling creative. Because trust me, There are no creative feelings when it comes to data. Number 3, follow people who genuinely inspire you. And I don't just mean people you like, because here's the thing. Rachel Hollis, who I talk about all the time, is a mother of 3 living in Texas who is like a live event motivational speaker. There is no real practical reason I should like Rachel Hollis, but she inspires me. She doesn't inspire me for my career or anything like that. She just simply inspires me. She posts stuff that I like. She creates content that I like. So I continue to follow her because she genuinely inspires me. So I want you to take a look at your social media and unfollow anyone who does not genuinely inspire you. And then do a little bit of research and find people who do. And then every time you see them post something that you like, take a screenshot of it and save it for later. Because then when you're not in your creative headspace, you can go and look at those screenshots and go, right, that person posted this, maybe I should try doing something similar. And then tag them. Let them know that they inspire you. People love hearing that. It's really, really great. Number 4, although you should be following people who inspire you, follow your competition as well. You need to know what the competition is doing. You need to know if they're creating better content than you. You need to know if they're creating more consistent content than you. If they're doing all video content, maybe you need to sprinkle in more videos. So make sure you're always keeping an eye on that competition because, again, when you're not in the creative headspace, you can go look at your screenshots that you took of your competition and go, right, they were making videos of alternative ways to use their product. Maybe I should try that. I'm not saying steal anyone's idea, but take inspiration from. Number 5, remember to take a moment and breathe and go for a walk. So although you might not be able to have your comfy chair or have your perfect cup of tea, you can always take a moment to breathe, to relax, and just take the shortest walk. Even if it's just like to the washrooms on the airplane and then back. Really just try to clear your head, take a moment for you, and then get back into it. Mental health is so important when creating content, and it is so important to ensure that you are taking care of yourself and you're not just pushing. You're not just grinding. So make sure you take a moment, breathe, go for a walk, and then come back. And do this whenever you feel stressed, whenever you feel overwhelmed. You do not just have to do it at the beginning. You don't have to do it at the beginning at all, but do it whenever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you feel stressed, or whenever you feel like you just need a moment away from your content. Number 6, try something. Try anything. If you are truly, truly stuck in a rut, if you really, really can't get into that headspace, take the most random photo on your phone. Look around on your desk and find something so crazy, so random, so weird that you would never in a million years post. Take a photo and then find a way to post it. Find a way to make it related to your content. Find a way to make it related to your brand. Just try anything because that'll help you get your creative juices flowing. It is taking the jump. It is taking the jump into the cold water. You are pushing yourself and you're just making the decision to do it rather than to keep thinking about it. Which leads us into number 7, which is test. Always make sure you are testing your content because that is a great way to start planning and collecting that data that we talked about earlier. Number 8, in the same way you should be trying something, you also should be experimenting all the time. Again, if you're seeing a lot of people do stop motion videos or you're seeing a lot of people do Instagram aesthetics rather than just having a bunch of posts of their products. If you see people using more stock images, if you see people using less stock images, maybe you should try experimenting with those things. Get out of your comfort zone, try something new, and have a little bit of fun with it. Number 9, music. I know we already said Rachel Hollis said it, but I'm going to say it too. Music can really, really help. Something that I actually really like is listening to music without any lyrics. Bill Frisell is definitely one of my favorites. You just plug them in, you go ahead and listen to them. There are no lyrics, but it really gets you in that creative headspace. Number 10, even if you are not an artist, I recommend this one. Draw it out. Just start drawing. Get a whiteboard. Get a blank piece of paper with no lines and start doodling, drawing. Draw out your marketing campaign. Draw out your poster. Draw out a new logo you want to try. Just draw out the storyboard for a video. drawing things can really help them connect in your mind. It is taking something physically from your hand that you are creating and putting it into your mind, even if it is not turning out the exact way you wanted it to look. Okay, everyone, we are going to go ahead and take a short break from the podcast, but when we come back, I have 10 different sites that will help you really focus all of that creative energy, all of that creative content that we just produced in this segment. So stay tuned for that, because you are listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and I'll be right back.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquish, and on tonight's episode, first of all, again, I'm recording it from my stairs. So guys, if that doesn't deserve a subscribe and a review, I don't know what does. What else can I do? How else can I help you? Please, let me know. Write it in the review down below, but please, subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. So on today's episode, we are talking about how you can put yourself in a creative mindset to really help you create better content during the quarantine, because obviously, and like I said, as the person recording from her stairwell, it can be hard to find a creative space in all of this chaos. So what we talked about before the break was 10 different ways that you can put yourself in that headspace no matter where you are in the world. So just to review, in case you didn't have your pen and paper out, we did, number 1, plan it out in advance. Number 2, collect data. Number 3, Follow people who inspire you. Number 4, follow your competition. Number 5, take a moment to breathe and walk around. Number 6, try something. Try anything. Number 7, remember to do tests. Number 8, experiment. Number 9, music. And number 10, draw it out. Even if you are not an artist, try to draw it out. Okay, guys, now that we are back from our break, though, let's jump into the 10 different sites that I have used. All of these sites, and they all have different features that I think could be very, very useful to you when trying to channel that creative energy. Number 1 is Trello. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have used Trello in the past as sort of more of a communication tool with your team, or maybe you had a manager who really enjoyed it, or you're a student and you like to stay organized. Trello has this really great feature called the calendar feature, and I find it super helpful that when I'm in that creative headspace, I can pop over to Trello and plan out my entire week of content creation. And it's super great because it's not a boring-looking calendar. It's not your grandma's content creator. It is a little bit trendier. It is a little bit more cool looking. You can customize your background with a photo you took yourself or one of their many, many beautiful stock photos. And it just gives you this positive energy and vibe when you go on there to check your calendar. You are excited about getting the opportunity to post what you created. It's really, really cool. You can jazz it up with stickers and GIFs, and it's just a ton of fun to stay organized with Trello. Again, this is not an ad for any of these sites. I don't know if I've said that already, but they're just sites that I've used in the past or other people I know have used, and they really, really enjoy them. Also, most of them are free or have a free trial option. Number 2, it's so obvious, hold on to your seats, Pinterest. Obviously, I was going to talk about Pinterest. It is so freaking easy to use Pinterest to organize your creativity. You can just create little Pinterest boards of, here's a bunch of food I really liked that I would like to try to cook with my baking ware that I sell, or here's a bunch of outfits I'd like to wear in Instagram posts, or here's a bunch of colors I'd like to use for my Instagram stories. Here's a bunch of backgrounds I'd like to use for my Instagram stories. It's super fun and super easy and very casual just to stay organized while having that creative mindset. Number 3, AOA. AOA, which is AYOA, so perhaps I am saying it wrong, is really, really great for mind mapping, using your data analytics, and just sort of like writing out a course. It's sort of that tip number 10 of drawing things out, but through a computer program. So it's going to be a very helpful mind mapping tool if you're into that format. I personally don't thrive in that format. I'm more of a to-do list, Pinterest board, Trello user, or I'll talk about the other ones that I use later, but it is still a very good app. I have heard a lot of people like using it who are more visual thinkers and who like mind mapping things. Number 4, Milanote. This has a to-do list feature, so you know I'm excited about it. And you can also use the color coordination tool, which is really great because say you're stuck on something, it'll help you sort of look at what colors look better together or which colors really, really don't look good together, because something I'm very bad at is knowing which colors go together and which ones do not. I cannot read a color wheel for the life of me. But luckily with Milanote, I don't have to. They help me out by just simply putting the images beside each other, and it helps me visually see which ones go together and which ones do not. Number 5, this might actually shock you, but it's Canva. Canva is a very, very versatile program. It will help you create your content, but it'll also help you organize your content in a mood vision board type style. So it's very versatile in that way. And if you're going to pay for the Canva subscription, you might as well also use it to help you not only create your content, but also keep your content coordinated. Number 6. InVision Boards. InVision Boards does exactly what the title claims. It includes a mood board, a gallery maker. You can add photos, you can add color swatches and text to create your perfect vision board. And honestly, guys, a vision board might seem like some crazy high school girl stuff, but trust me, it can genuinely help you focus your ideas. And here's the thing, you don't just need a vision board for your life. That's not what you're doing. You can create a vision board for a project, for an Instagram post, for a campaign, for a marketing program. Whatever it may be, creating a vision board can help you visually see all of the ideas you have, which ones really work, which ones are reasonable, which ones aren't reasonable. It really helps. I highly recommend it, especially if you use a program like Envision Boards. Number 7, be funky. It doesn't require an account to use, so I really like recommending this to people because some of these you have to create an account even if they're free. But Be Funky, you don't need an account, and it's just super easy to use. And it does the same thing as Envision Board. You get to create your vision board or your mood board, as they call it on the Be Funky site. And again, it's just a great way to take all of your ideas, put them on one place, and it'll make it look all cute and pretty for you, very aesthetically pleasing, so that you can see all of your ideas right in front of you on your computer screen. Number 8 is actually one that I learned about today called Coolors. So Coolors, and it helps you match color swatches. Guys, I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. I am the worst at matching colors. People have shown me color wheels. People have tried to point it out to me how it all makes sense, but guess what? It doesn't. It doesn't click. I take photography. I understand. I taught photography for years. I understand what looks good and what doesn't. But when it comes to matching colors for a theme, that part just doesn't click for me. And so using an app like Coolors really, really helps. Basically, you just lock in the one color that you like, and then it gives you 5 complementary colors that go with it. It is completely free to use, and it's just a very handy tool to help you organize your thoughts or help you pick color swatches if you were stuck on which ones to choose. Number 9 is one that I personally use for all of my content creation, so I highly, highly recommend it. It is Photor. So Fotor.com. You do not need an account to use this. It'll allow you to create 5 images for free, but you can go back in and delete them and keep creating them. I don't know if I should be saying that, but I don't work for Photor. Anyways, it's just super easy. You can edit your photos on there, but you can also create designs for Instagram posts. It'll give you the proper measurements for all of your social media and YouTube videos, graphics. It'll give you the work. You can export into whatever format you need, PNG, JPEG, whatever it may be. And again, I kind of like it when the programs are interesting to look at as well. And Photor is very interesting to look at. Highly, highly recommend. Number 10, Moodzer. Moodzer is really great because it actually allows you to create a draft and then the permanent version of your finished version of your mood board. And so that's really cool because it'll sort of let you play around with whatever you want and then give you a finished copy, which a lot of these don't. They're sort of like you play with it and then you decide when it's the finished copy. But it's actually really nice just even for you to mentally organize yourself to be like, no, this is the finished copy. We are no longer touching it. So that's really helpful. It's also just a very cool app to use, super helpful in creating mood boards for any project you may have. Okay, everyone, that is it for tonight's episode of the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquith, and thank you so much for tuning in to tonight's episode. If you have any requests for future episodes or just an idea you want to share with our community, please feel free to write it in the review down below or reach out through social media. Thank you so much for listening to the GSMC Marketing Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mackenzie Jaquith, and I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the GSMC Marketing News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on SoundCloud, Stitcher, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to any podcast app, and you'll find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, you'll find it all on the GSMC Podcast Network. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.